one thing I have noticed by analysing the results that I've studied sort of out of the shack, I have a feeling people haven't understood the reporting system doesn't have anything to do with signal strength. It's a signal quality path report, signal to noise to noise ratio. So the actual signal strength bit doesn't really come into the issue. But I think what's happened by some of the reports and stuff that you work, I think people are running a sort of 100 watt rig or even more without realising it's making noise itself, because I've noticed on these low power rigs the linears aren't all that linear really, and I rather suspect what's happened is people have put up the power thinking they're going to get a better report when there's nothing to do with it. They don't seem to realise that it's a single path indication, and you can put up the power level of your rig, but it might affect the signal to noise ratio from the other end. So although you want
is okay and is not missing her sister too much, and has gone up yet again. For a long time it was about £8, which was very reasonable, and we charged 10, and the difference went into Rochi.
KIY Golf Delta 3 Lima Sierra Foxtrot. Golf Delta 0 Tango Foxtrot Golf.
EQ 80 meters. This Mike Charlie 0 Sierra Bravo Victor calling EQ 80.
I suppose you have. I had a thought.
And it'll pay for itself within 7 years from the calculations I've done. So that and some more space and a little bit.
7, so I expect I might have a chance to have it to drive round the north in 7, which would be...
Yeah, I'm going down to Northampton, Stu, at about 11 o'clock to pick the radio up.
My original collection, so I might try and lever that apart and see how easy it is. But the very fact that yours came apart so easily sort of suggests that it wasn't quite made right. We know that anyhow, of course, but might point towards the reason for your disappointment. Right, yes, I do ask how people are. Now, a lot of times when I do that, I think, well, this is just a pleasantry you're doing here, David. It's not, you're not really interested, but I think I am interested in how people are. But it always helps if somebody asks. I mean, you don't really want this. Sometimes you don't want the answer. For instance, my hypochondriac friend, you know, you can't you can't help yourself but say, how are you, Robert? And of course you know then that you're in for a couple of hours worth of awful moaning and groaning. And as I say it, I'm sort of biting my tongue thinking you'll regret asking how he is. So sometimes you don't really want the long answer. You just want the, yeah, I'm all right, meaning that you've probably got just as many aches and pains as I've got, but you don't particularly want to talk about them. So, but I do genuinely care how you and your family are, John. Absolutely 100%. Right, so back to you, John. G3VZF in the group. M0SPZ.
M0SPZ, G3VZF, yes. Before you even mentioned that eBay point, I was already going to make it myself and was scanning back through my emails received to get to one where eBay were offering me a ready-made oscilloscope for £1.79. And really, you couldn't read the words any other way than that you were going to buy a ready-made, actually it wasn't to say made, it said a ready-welded oscilloscope. It clearly was nonsense, but one had to dig deep into the thing to actually realise that you weren't going to get even anything of an oscilloscope for £1.79. You were just guessing, it certainly said some flying lead or something like that. It's remarkably dishonest, and multiple IDs for sellers is very, very common. I mean, this is an old thing in the sort of supermarket trade, isn't it? It's if you only have 1 in 8 brands in the market, you'll get 1 in 8 of the shelf footage in the supermarket. But if you've got 3 in 8 brands, you'll get 3 foot. And they're all from you, but just with a different label on, you still get 3 times the footage on the shelves. So it's, I think they all tend to lay out multiple stores with obviously exactly the same stuff. It's a dodgy place, eBay, isn't it? The sorting by price, as you say, is a complete waste of time. In the old days, it was that you found loads and loads of things at a penny with about 8 quid postage on them. They seem to have moved away from that now into bundling just something trivial along, and that's the thing you're bidding for. I mean, that happened with that transistor tester. Some of them were, the headline price was the price of the plastic case for the thing. Say for this oscilloscope, it was nugatory, the item that they actually offered at a nugatory price. And yet the headline clearly identified as being a ready welded oscilloscope. There's a lot of it about, isn't there? It really is a Wild West eBay nowadays, I think. Yeah, but even Amazon's a bit like that now. Try going through the Amazon checkout without signing yourself up for Prime. You really have to be careful. The yes and no are not in any way really discriminated on the page. So you usually have to look somewhere else entirely on the page for a virtually hidden place where if you do click, you are saying no. All rather bad, isn't it? It's not just buyer beware, but buyer be shot at effectively. Oh well, never mind. We survived through things like that. I was talking about hospital earlier. I had another text message last night about a hospital appointment today. And I can listen about. I don't even know who the patient is, let alone anything else about all this. I think I mentioned this. They looked for ages. They actually worked out it was an appointment for Margaret. I pointed out some. Could you give us some what to do in advance of the appointment? We don't know any paperwork we should bring to the appointment. When I say in advance, avoiding drinking or something like that. Because it occurred to me when I got the text this morning, we don't even know where it is. And with Margaret being disabled and her disability to doing with walking anywhere. They haven't even told us that, and of course they haven't sent us the letter that we talked about on Monday. What a way to run a railway, as my grandfather used to say. I shall phone them at the end of this QSO, and I bet all I'll get is loads of answering machines. At least today, the phone calls will be free. We're on a phone contract where phone calls are free at the weekend. With BT, Margaret insists on us being with BT, so we just got that basic sort of contract with them where weekend phone calls are free. Unfortunately, Muggins thought Friday was Saturday. So he made some phone calls as though it was the weekend on Friday. Absolutely astonished to find that 14 minutes of phone call with BT.
Yeah, okay, John, G0GSR. Yeah, we got ripped off quite badly from BT a little while ago because, not misleading wording, but it's difficult to understand the international dialing rate BT. We got to BT line as well. And my wife wanted to ring a code, so I looked on the website. And it looked funny. I said, no need to worry. Just as long as you like. Anyway, it wasn't, and we got a really nasty shock when we got the bill. It was about 60 pence a minute. But their website, the rate shown on their website was the rate shown if you subscribe to the international, whatever it is, you've got to pay so much per month extra to get value international calls. And of course we didn't do that, but that was the price that they'd shown on the website. This was really much inflated, but I don't know. That Amazon you mentioned, John, is a real pain signing to you automatically to Prime. I felt for that suddenly found myself signed up to this Prime service with my 30-day free trial. I immediately cancelled. Next time I tried to order from Amazon, I found they'd tried to sign me up again. So that's it. I won't use them anymore now. They can get lost. It's far too misleading. Back to you, Dave. M083VZF from G0GSR.
Yeah, Roger. Whatever happened to the customers always right? That's what I want to know. What is it? Oh, yeah. Well, what I do, I always look for the stuff on Amazon, but usually I don't buy it because what I find is that they advertise a reasonable price on items up above 20 quid or something for $19.99, and I think to myself, well, that's just another trick, isn't it? They're trying to fool me. So what I do, I look it up on Amazon because the actual information about the product is usually a little bit better than eBay. And then once I've found it and decided that that's the particular thing I want, I then go to eBay, and 9 times out of 10, in fact more than that, 99 times out of 100, it's free postage. So, and or cheaper than Amazon, as well as being free postage. So that's what I do. I do occasionally buy from Amazon when something's not available on eBay. Most of the time, I just use it to look up something, and then use eBay to actually get free. By the way, all my TV channels, all of these from the suddenly reappeared on Virgin. So obviously UK TV or Virgin or both of them realised their big mistake, and it's all back and up and running again. So, but nothing on the news that yes, or maybe the day before, and suddenly thought, oh look, gold's come back. What? Yes, or maybe all of the repeat channels are back. Not play on SDR, especially on the Conway one this morning, Frank. I suppose it's overloaded, and looks like Mark's on there as well. M0SKV. Very good morning to you. Also Dave as well. I think M3FVV. Good morning to you, Dave. Right, so round to you then, John. B3BZ up in the group, M0SBZ.
M0SBZ, G3VZF. Yes, okay, an experience shared there as well, because I did get trapped by them, Frank, at Amazon. I mean, the stuff I did the other day with them, you get, but they'll both sign you up to Prime. You look like they're yes, no, but they're not with respect to Prime. You have it when the mouse hovers on it, but it's not in itself obviously a link. In order to not do this, and naturally it's very small. Makes a really dishonest world out of it. I get in with Amazon. I don't think I've mentioned this. It's only happened yesterday. I ordered some books for my wife. All bar one of them came. Then lots of emails saying, we're still trying to get you that book. Email came the other day saying, well, we can't get it. The publisher said he's not going to be able to give us a date. Here are some alternatives in our range. One of the alternatives is absolutely identical. The only difference between the two they were offering, one was the paperback, one was the hardback version. I'd ordered the paperback version, and they were offering the paperback version, exactly the same thing, but presumably double listed. And they said, tell you what, look, you go and order this book, here's the link, go and order it. And I thought, well, this is a con, because they're going to charge me carriage because the book's under a tenner. And they have an 0800 number, so I called them up, and they said, oh yes, we have to charge you on the original order. You wouldn't have charged me any more carriage. Paused by Filipino at the other. I said to them, so why don't you actually interchangeably in future and just actually offer an option to say, yeah, I'll accept that substitute. Oh, what? And they said, well, we can't not charge you the carriage if you buy this book as you could now buy it. But we will give you a credit of £2.99. Again, what a fiddle! They list the same thing twice, and I mean, damn it! They just wanted to screw me for another whole world out. Mind. Yes, sir. That puts my £2.50 in the shade, doesn't it? To be a local call. No such thing as a free lunch as there in telecoms nowadays. But, we do use where you put a prefix. We're registered with a lot of those actually. Not that we use them all very often, but it's part of something, another little scheme we got going, which requires direct debits on your bank account. You can probably work out what the rest of it is. But I mean, they're still quite good. They've gone up a fair bit in price recently, but even now the rate to the United States is 2.5 pence per minute. That's either to fixed or mobile. But I think their connect charges, depending on which one you use, is either 4 to 5 pence. Of course, that's what I intended to use the other day, in which case I would have been charged 20 pence, not 13 times 20 pence. It's a rip off the old world out there, isn't there? It's amateur radio. Do you find sweetness and light? G0 DSR, G3VZF.
G0 GSR, sweetness and light. I don't think so somehow. Yeah, it was very annoying because we've got had Skype, so that would have been completely free. I've even got I don't know what, I didn't quite understand what you were talking about there, John, but I've got an internet phone that it looks like a phone, but it has an Ethernet socket on it, and I signed up with a service provider. And it was free at the time. I don't pay any subscription to it, and you can get calls about 1.5 pence a minute. But if you say it's gone up recently, then this has probably gone up as well. But good value anyway, and of course free between other internet-connected phones as well. But it's just the landline bits or the mobile bits you pay for, and I couldn't be bothered to get that out and plug it in because we don't leave it plugged all the time now. But I've actually got a local Tavistock phone number on it as well, so it's got a proper regional number on it, which I used to use at one time, but not anymore. Anyway, very easy to get ripped off nowadays, isn't it? But talking about your TV channels, Dave, yeah, I hadn't heard anything about an agreement between Virgin and UK TV, but presumably some agreement must have been made. So now you can watch all the old stuff again. And yeah, good morning to Mark. Said you got new. I hope you're okay, Mark. Anyway, I'm awful this morning. Dave, M0SPZ with G3VZF from G0GSR.
M0SPZ returning. Yeah, with regards to Amazon, I often wonder how big companies can grow. They always say they want positive growth. The reason why all these little traps are appearing, I suppose, is because all the salespeople want they're probably on a bonus, and so the way that they get more money is by getting more sales on Amazon. And but how big can Amazon get? Is it right that they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger? I mean, eventually, if they put everybody out of business, then they can charge what they like, can't they? I've often wondered about that, whether continuing growth in a company is always a good thing. I don't know what you've got to say about it. It worries me that we say, well, we've got this headlong rush for more and more say whether it really is the way to protect the company from demise, whether continuous growth. In fact, I suppose you could look at it on a country basis as well. Is continuing brighter and bigger economy always the right way to go, I wonder? I use my month, and the only reason I do that is if I have to call one of my friends and I think, oh, it's going to be a long chat, so I'll call them after 6 o'clock, and they happen to be on budget. Well, and then they hardly use at all. So for somebody that's supposedly into communication, I certainly don't use the phone system anywhere near as much as most people. But so my phone bills are relatively cheap. In fact, if I could guarantee the mobile phone would work 100% every time, I'd get rid of the landline. Although when I looked at the cost of doing that, it wasn't going to work out any cheaper because the Virgin packages are adjusted such that if you just have internet and TV, the actual package price goes up. So they sort of throw the landline in. Really, the phone spent the time doing nothing. Right, so round to you, John. G3VZF in the group,
M0SB. These edges, I wrote down TV, but got to comment on iteration of those services to version on them. So, television news, media, Dave, I gather they'd come to some financial agreement with to UK Gold or something, so they were announcing that all was peace and light back in the world of 1970 again. As for companies getting too big for themselves, well, I mean, this is supposed to be the role of governments, isn't it, to try to stop monopolies occurring, which I don't know what it's called nowadays. It used to be called the Mergers and Monopoly Commission, didn't it, in this country, and the American have the Interstate Commerce Commission, I think, who are supposed to be there to do the things. I think if you listen, and that is to stop monopolies developing. It's it's a bit like a guard dog. It's no good having a guard dog that sleeps, but the trouble is the sort of guard dog that will have a go at a burglar. You've actually got to give it you. And I think it's the same thing with capitalism. You need it, but it's got to be controlled, and the prevention of monopolies is all part of that. And I think the ICC in America has been very successful over the years. It's bucked up big monopolies in the States, starting with the railways 100 years ago. I don't think the mergers and monopoly, how is it called, the panel nowadays rather than the commission, it's in this country, it's been interfered with when Gordon Brown was doing his famous light touch regulation thing. He was effectively giving the to do what they wanted to do, and it's good to have a dynamic dog, but you do have to make sure the dog doesn't have bad habits and doesn't keep trying to bite you all the time. But on the other hand, that's better than I think communism, which is just like having a dead dog. It's a matter of philosophy, but I think we need that sort of thing, and we don't have it, and hence firms do grow big, and they start to establish monopolies, Dave. It's not that we don't seem to be able to get this balance I think particularly in this country, we swing back and forth, don't we? We're probably too unbridled capitalism now, whereas in the 1970s we were probably too much unbridled trade unions, don't you think? We don't seem to be able to find the Goldilocks mode of operation, do we? G0 GSR, G3VZF.
Yeah, that's right, John. G0 GSR, we seem to swing from one thing to the other, don't we? I don't think the Monopolies and Mergers Commission do anything at all. I saw our firm, we're subject to that, and there is now a big monopoly in broadcast transmission provision, and they did nothing whatsoever to stop that. But I suppose it was foolish of me to expect that they might. But yeah, regarding phone lines, I need a phone line here for my internet. There's no other way it can be delivered here. We've got no cable whatsoever in the town. Fibre optic cables go past the door at a very high rate of knots, but they don't stop until they stop. I thought it was quite funny that my daughter had a Virgin cable fitted, and they don't feed the phone line down it, do they? The phone line came in separately on a piece of copper wires. I was perhaps foolish in thinking that everything would be integrated into the high-speed cable network, but apparently not. They still have a pair of copper wires coming into your house as well as the coaxial cable, but I suppose it's just the existing infrastructure, isn't it? I have no idea how the real system works, but she actually had a pair of coppers as well as the cable coming in. I presume you've got the same, Dave. MCRSPZ with you, 3VZF from G0 GSR.
Yeah, I think so is the answer. G0 GSR, M0 SPZ returning to the group. Yeah, I think so, Frank. I haven't looked at it. It's all behind the TV. I've definitely got two boxes, so that would probably indicate that. But believe it or not, I've still got the wires coming from the telephone pole that for British Telecom. They never bothered to disconnect those. In fact, I may have said this before, but I've got a telegraph pole outside my house. And it leans, I don't know, about 5 or 6 degrees to one side, and then almost completely opposite on the other side of the road, a lamp post outside my house that leans that way, and on the other side of the road I've got the telegraph pole, or the telephone pole, and that leans the other way. And I always used to think when I used to open my front door to go out, I'd see the lamppost lean in one way and the telegraph pole lean in the other. And I always used to think, now, how much did I have to drink last night? So I've still got the wires from BT coming up to the house. They don't actually come into the house anymore. So I'm fully wired with copper. And I think you're right, Frank. I think that the cable comes in through some sort of coaxial system. It's not fibre to the house, it's fibre to the box at the end of the road, and then it's some sort of coax cable after that. And also there's another box that brings the phone in. Maybe that's why they charge me a lot for the phone. But of course the phone it costs nothing for them, really, does it? Unless you make a call, and once you've made the call, it's just the cost of the electricity. So it's the money to make old rope. No, don't mean that. A license to print money. As regards to left and right politics, as I've always thought that, John, we're either one way or the other, aren't we? We never seem to strike a happy medium. And I often wonder whether the very fact that they name parties, the government, and then they've got the opposition. And I often wonder, well, does that mean that they've got to oppose everything? Or, and sometimes they do, even if they don't believe what they're doing, they oppose it, don't they? Rather than make it easy for the government. And I think this adversarial approach might do with some modification, so that everybody helps everybody else to produce the best result. But it's so ingrained, isn't it, this either left wing or right wing. I don't think I should see that in my lifetime. Right, round to you, John. G3VZF in the group, M0 SPZ.
M0 SPZ, G3VZF. Well, I think all opposition parties admit that the job is to oppose, and Well, I'm going to say they do. I don't know whether that's really happening at the moment. I suppose it depends who you regard as being the leader of the opposition. Someone like Diane Abbott certainly leaves it her job to oppose anything the government did, even before they propose it. I'm not sure you can say that of Jeremy Corbyn, because it implies he's actually got an opinion. And as will demonstrate, I think, particularly during the bloke is the world's #1 fence sitter. He just would not come off the fence on that. He had a very firm line on it, which was to remain, because if we didn't remain, that would weaken the protection of workers. That was their very firm policy, universal across the Labour Party. Leaving the EU would damage workers' terms and conditions. And all of a sudden, that just sort of vaporised. And then there he was, presumably doing his allotment or whatever, living in a policy-free zone. So, if anything, we have come away, I think, from the auto-opposition, a complete fuzzy area. And I think that still applies. Trouble is, it's a problem, isn't it, when you have a leader who's a rebel. Rebels are used to being, here's another word, Dave, nihilistic. And the trouble is, you can't actually be a leader of a thing if you are just a natural nihilist. I think this is what was really the revelation in Northern Ireland, don't you? That the way actually to try to establish some peace was to make the parties warring really responsible for things. And when the IRA recognised, gosh, if we do this, we're going to have to work out how to keep water supplying to people. And what to it was to take on the bureaucracy and don't mean take it on like an opposition, but to take on the responsibilities of the bureaucracy, and that load sort of dampened their fire on a bit. I think that's probably what's happened with poor old what's his name in Russian, Cobb? I think that was the name he used to have for him. So we don't really have an opposition. When you don't have an opposition in Parliament, in the newspapers, or well, let's not give them a name above their station, the rags with the reptiles, as Bill Deeds was supposed to have said once. It's an odd thing, isn't it, about opposition. Actually, the best example of that was in 1922. Lloyd George opposed the then government's proposal that we should have some the flat voting system. It's ironic now when you hear the Liberals screaming how unfairly they're treated. It was they, as the opposition, who actually opposed the idea of proportional representation. I think it was 1922, around about then. So, ironic or what? G0GSR, G3VZF.
Yeah, it could be John, G0GSR. I don't really want to talk about politics, etc. I've got no respect for any of them, to be honest. But I really must make this my final now, because I've got my daughter staying with us, and she's up and about now, and I'll go and see what she wants and show my face, basically. I'm not supposed to be antisocial like somebody here. So cheers for now, thanks for the contact, and see you next time from G0GSR. Over to you, Dave.
Yes, okay, Frank, all the best, and talk real soon. And have the family. And yes, okay, I'll make this my final as well then, John. It's in the same group of words of annihilation, John, right?
Yes, it is. You just want to knock down without a place, Dave.
Ah, there we go. Well, another one for me. I wonder if we're going to have to carry out a test these lovely words I've remembered. Okay, John, all the best to you, my friend. Have a great Sunday. Look forward to the next time. G3VZF and G0GSR, M0SBZ now clear. cheerio to Mark and to Dave and anybody else that's listening on the web system. Mike 0 Sierra Bravo Zulu now clear. Cheers. Bye-bye.
You're already head above a lot of the people on the BBC, I'm afraid, Dave. Yesterday, a chap kept talking about somebody flaunting the rules. And he said this several times, this bloke was flaunting the rules. And of course, what he really meant was he was flouting the rules. But, what the hell? But both words start with FL, so what? As they say in London, South London, au revoir. G3VZF, good morning.
Cheers. At least he didn't say, know what I mean. Know what I mean? Cheers, John.
Well, he probably would have and cut him off, Dave.
Okay, cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
On 80 metres, it must be reasonably broad, I suppose. Anyway, without further ado, I'll pass it over to Giles and see what you've got to say, Giles. G0NXA and the group G8BGT.
Or maybe here. Yes, good morning, everybody. And we may have another person listening in the side who's not yet made his transmitter work, but I'm hoping might. And that's M0 Oscar Lima Oscar down on the bottom edge of the Forest 15. So if you're there, Chris, I am also listening on 433 550 if you want a bit of moral support first. Okay. Well, Andy, the off-center fed G5RV doesn't sound to be suffering, as you surmised. Colossal signals, of course. And I note with interest that we've got 4IOQ to speak yet, QWWQ. Who seems to be the in letter for the final part of your call sign. Afraid I can't oblige. Back to you, Andy. G8BGT, G0NXA.
Yeah, morning to you, Giles. And I know the antenna seems to be working much as before. Although I was a bit upset last night because there was a PY on 20 metres from Brazil. And he was 5'9" with me. Very, very good signal, but I could not get him. Just couldn't manage it. So I know the G5RV isn't wonderful on 20, but it is one of the bands that tends to work better. I think it could be. Maybe it is very, very much caught up in leaves on the tree around the centre point. So I'm not sure on 20 metres that's a voltage point. On 80 metres it's not matter, but maybe they matter a lot more on 20 metres. But I tried and I couldn't get this guy. And in the end, he went QT, so I was most depressed. Anyway, right, without further ado, let's pass it to G4IOQ and see whereabouts you are. G4IOQ and the group G8BGT.
Yes, okay, Andy, fine, very good morning, and nice to hear you. Thank you very much for reading the news. You're at 9 most of the time. Bit of QSB down to S7, but back up again, so everything copied. Everything is fine. I got virtually negligible noise level here. Name is Tony, Tango Oscar November Yankee, Tony, and we're in the village of Treslac, Treslach. It's about 3.5 miles southwest of Oswestry in the county of Shropshire. So we're in the West Midlands and less than 2 miles from the Welsh border. And I was getting Hugh from near Denby 5 and 9, also Dave Worcester 5-9. Giles, you're about 5 and 7, a little bit weaker than the others, but all copied. And yes, I am a GB2RS newsreader myself. I'll be reading Top Band this evening, the national news on Top Band. So there we are. But love to hear you, and say thanks very much for reading the news. It all came across very nicely. G8BGT is the name Tony, well, southwest of Oswestry. G8BGT, G5OQ.
Okay, Coley. Yeah, very, very good signal. 10 over 9 with me. I'm just outside Pershaw, and Yeah, that's it. Okay. Name's Andy, by the way. Right, okay. Thanks. Oh, I must thank you, Dave, for reading the news for the last 4 weeks. Last Sunday, I was driving along in our camper van, and Sue was driving, and I just noticed the time. We're in southern France at the time, and I thought, oh, I'll just have a quick listen, see if I can hear you. And I listened on the Hack Green computer, Hack Green site, and managed to actually hear you on the phone. Because it's a bit noisy in the camper van, and we had the windows open because it was so hot. It was quite hard to hear too much, but I could hear you quite clearly. So often, and also interestingly, now when we on the way down the first Sunday, having to 817, and I'm not sure. I think I might have heard you then from mid-France. Just a little auto antenna, but there was definitely somebody on 3650 at the correct time, but I couldn't, in between a Dutch station that kept coming up, but I couldn't be certain if it was you or if I was just imagining it. So anyway, never mind, I did try. Anyway, right, let's pass it over to you, Dave. G4 IDF from the group, G8GT.
Yeah, okay, Andy. Oh, nice to know that we got down into mid-France. Some weekends when we've been down in Watchet, I've connected into the sites what checked on the news bulletin through Hack Green. Yeah, it's a good signal up into Hack Green. And very good morning to you, Tony. 509. From Woodard, and all your 5 and 9 plus Agile, as one would expect, just living down the road, so to speak. So yes, all good this morning on the news. Not too much noise in that, but managing to copy everybody who's called in on the net. Right, back to you, Andy. G8BGT and the group. G4, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Everybody's well, like you said, everybody's a very good signal, but I suppose you would expect that. And yeah, Tony, I think you're fairly similar strength to Hugh. So it's just a little strong, 10 over 9. Hugh. Pass it over to Charles, G0NXA in the group.
Yes, okay, fine. Tony, we have met, and I called on your parents while you were overseas somewhere. The first time I was aware of your existence. Very nice to meet you, because you come out of Trapon and going south, you'll be on the left-hand side if you're in the same building. I can't remember whether you are or not. Anyway, very nice to bump into you. I shall have to put... I'm using a rubbish aerial, a really professionally put up rubbish aerial in the true amateur sense, or shamateur sense, in that it's a perfectly good 40-metre vertical with a trap and a tail, and no modification to the ground plane. So it's a poor inverted L on this band, and I'm always grateful if anybody hears it all. So anyway, we not necessarily given up on the project, but it's in the sandwich. Andy is about 3 miles line of sight away from it, 3-4 miles line of sight, and he's by far the closest. Dave is about 10 miles away in your direction, and then there's you, and then Hugh up near Denby. So we're almost in a straight line, interestingly. Great to hear you. Chris, I will now be listening. I've had the volume down. I'm very sorry if you're trying to call me on 77. But if in a moment or two at the end, Andy, we could just see if Chris is intending to give you a call. I'm trying to break the... I haven't worked on 80 yet, and I haven't worked out how to set the rig up. So with a bit of luck, we can encourage Chris to give it a go. I put up an aerial for him the last couple of days. He's got an inverted V off the 40-foot mark.
Yes, the frequency is in use.
The rig, he's got some old rigs, and the TS830 is in working order, and would be the rig we would be using, I guess. So, back to you then, Andy. G8BGT-G0NA.
Yeah, I hadn't realised you're quite closer to me, Charles. Yeah, I suppose you're right. Yes, it is. You're not very far away, are you? Right, okay. I will pass it over for IOQ with a pause for the. I'm sorry, Mr. Call sign. Chris M0. I can't remember the rest of the call sign. So you are transmitting. Otherwise, if you'd like to take it, Tony G4IOQ in the group G8BGT.
Yes, okay. I couldn't hear anybody break in there. It was M0OLO, I think, Giles made, but no copy, but please apologise if I'm on top of him. I don't think I am. But you've missed Hugh out up in Denby. I don't know whether he did make a one and only or whether we've missed him out, but fine from you, Giles. Yes, you're peaking up to an 8. Yeah, I don't think we actually met. I know you met my parents, but I was abroad at the time. And no, I've actually moved. I'm about a mile southwest of the old QTH. I'm not in the village of Tryffonin anymore. I'm in the village of Treflach. It's all on the maps, and I'm QTHR. So I've been here about 2.5 years. We moved from the other place. When I retired about 3 years ago now. It'll be 3 years last April. So 3.5 years coming up, and my ex-wife wanted didn't particularly like the other house, so we looked around and found this place. It's quite high. It's about 700 feet above sea level. There's Sweden and Poland and whatnot. I worked the Isle of Wight yesterday. SSB, but quite a good location. Chem 70 cents, 4 meters and 6 meters. I've got I took it off when we moved, and I put it on top of my car. I miss HF, I must say. Homebrew trap dipole, homebrew traps, and it's for trap for 40 SD and 80 meters, and of course extend for top band. And I get out pretty well on that band, as I say. Into G, I am a news reader. In fact, I'm reading this evening. I'm going to read next week as well, as the schedule leader can't make it. And I do have a sked every morning on 80 meters with GM4N2EL, Jim, who was also a... So, there we are. And it's about 100 watts. I'm using just 100 watts for this homebrew trap dipole, about 30 feet above the ground. Right, okay, well, I don't know if this frequency is in use. I think it's in use again at 10:30, I'm not sure, but I'm on hold it. I'll 73, which I would have a very good morning. It is overcast here. We've had some rain. We've had a terrific summer, so we're not complaining, and we do need rain. I overlook a cow field here, and the cows are all lying down, and it was very brown. It's getting green again slowly. There's a pheasant walking across it, and very pleasant environment. So a little lane at the stone cottage. It appears on maps that were surveyed in 1874, but it has had a little bit then. There's an old well in the garden, which is also on the map. That's sort of bricked now. But, yes, my ex-wife likes it, and I like it. So there we are, and if she's happy, I'm generally happy. So there's not much noise about too, which is quite important on the lower frequencies these days. I know a lot of people do suffer, but it's not too bad here. So there we are. Okay then, Pershaw, yes, I've been to the village of Pershaw. But I never really stopped there. It's when the 84 used to go through it. Use of it now, doesn't it? But anyway, there we are. I know Worcester a little bit, and Tewkesbury and Denbigh are well, use east of Denbigh, but I know that the town. So I'll say 73 and just pass it back to you, Andy. BGT Group G4IOQ.
G4IOQ and the group from G8BGT. Yeah, I must apologise to you. I think I did miss you out, didn't I? I'm very, very sorry. Not intentional, obviously. Just me not following my list very clearly. Okay, I'll say 7.3s then to you, Tony. And yeah, it sounds a similar sort of property that we've got here. It appears on a map of 1884, and really funny. We moved in here about 3 and a bit years ago, and I was speaking to a lady living locally, and she said, "Oh, of course, you've got a well in your garden." And I said, "Oh yeah," and she said, "Oh yes, you have." And it's underneath some stone flags at the back of the house. I went round with a broomstick, banging all the flagstones, and you can hear it hollow underneath some of them. And then when I looked on this 1884 map, there's a W by the side of the house, which obviously means well, and it's in exactly that place. So it's quite a find. I'd be interested to see what the well actually looks like, but it is completely covered, so no chance of getting at it. Right, okay, round over to you, Hugh. Say 7.3s to you, Tony, and again, apologies to you. GW0WWQ in the group, G8BGT.
Yeah, with a slight pause there, didn't hear anybody. I did when you were on a previous over, somebody came up, obviously more local to me, asking if the frequency was in use, but I corrected him, or put him right on that. Yeah, G4IOQ, Tony, you're varying from 5 and 9 to 5 and 9 plus 10. Good, strong all-round signal. But Giles, you're varying between 5 and 9 to about 5 and 5 on a slow fade. I don't understand, as you two, you and Andy are so close, I don't understand, but both Andy and Dave were given very steady signals, but Giles, you did vary a little bit. Right, okay, I won't take up too much time. I've got another net in a minute to go to. But once again, Andy, thanks for reading the news, and all being well, we'll see you next week. And if anybody's interested, running about 80 watts into an inverted V type of originally a G5RV, aligned roughly east to west, and weather up here very cool, heavy showers and brief sunny intervals in between. Certainly not got a drought here. Right, okay, Andy, back to you. G8BGT GW0WWQ.
Yeah, left a pause there, nothing heard. Okay, Hugh. Yeah, you got similar weather to us. I better not hold it any longer. We've actually got about 4 tents up in our garden. My son and his family and some friends here camping in the garden. They picked an amazing weekend to camp, haven't they? Bearing in mind the summer that we've had. So it's poured with rain all night, so there's some not very happy campers. And so never mind. They're young, well, a lot younger than me, so I think they probably quite enjoyed it. We've got about 6 children here at the same time, and they definitely enjoyed themselves. So they were running around playing some laser gun game last night at about 9 o'clock. So goodness knows what the neighbours think. So I won't hold it. I'd better go out and see what's going on in the garden. I think they're cooking breakfast now, so I might go and at least have a cup of coffee. So round to you, Dave. G4IDF and the group G8BGT.
Yeah, okay, Andy. Once again, thanks for reading the news, and good signals from everybody. And it's this is listening. I think it's Chris, M0OLO. A very good morning to you. Hopefully we might hear you on the after news net. So I shall sign to 73 to everybody, all being well. Speak to you next Sunday, same time, same frequency. Back to you, Andy. G8BGT in the group, G4IDF.
Okay, cheers then, Dave. Got a Continental now in the background, but no trouble. Right, I'm quite looking forward to this talk on drone antennas. I could have done with one a drone the other day to get my antenna back up in the tree. But I have actually got one, but it's only a very small one. It's not certainly it's not probably powerful enough to even lift a fishing line up to a decent height. And secondly, I'm most certainly not competent enough to steer it in the right position. They're harder than you think to fly. It looks very easy till you actually come to do it. Right, okay. Cheers, Dave. See you Tuesday. Just over to Giles for any other comments. And yeah, cheers then. G0NX in the group, GPGT.
Having the inverted LS1 aerial for considerable amount. There is a drone and a drone operator very close to me who would drop your wire over. Going to put a loop round the big oak tree, just over the tree, so that it'll get tied in the knot, as it were, under the chin, and I can pull wires round the circumference of the tree. Have a top end at the bottom. There's always a plan, isn't there? Cheers and beers, one and all. Good to hear you. Nice to hear you, Tony. I think we did meet at a rally somewhere once. I'm fairly convinced we did. But only fleetingly, and I wouldn't expect you to remember. In fact, I would almost bet on you doing your best to forget. But there we go. I very gloriously find I'm wrong sometimes, and not always though. Cheers. Wet and catch up with you next weekend, if not before. This is G0NXA, now clear, and we'll be just moving up a few cases. I think he's not there, but he might be.
Okay, cheers, Charles. And I don't know, once met, never forgotten, I would say. No, sorry, I'm being personal now. Okay, well, very pleasant to hook up with everybody, and I will get some visit the happy campers in the garden and go and suggest perhaps they'd like to pay a camping charge for the night. I think that will go down well. Again, only joking. Right, 7-3. See you on Tuesday, Dave, and everybody else perhaps next weekend. G8BGT now signing clear, just listening, and then going QRT. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, Andy. GW0WWQ.
Cheers, Hugh.